Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 18 glitch in the matrix and supernatural stories for you. What happens when a burn proves we aren't alone in the universe? Let's find out. Case file number 2178, written by Mao Mao's House, the cosmic mark of the unknown. When I was around 12 or 13, I woke up for school one day and my back was absolutely killing me, but I had no idea why. Still, I went about my way to get ready for school. I went to take my shower, and the hot water emphasized the pain in my back. It was burning. I got out of the shower and looked in the mirror to find a huge, circular burn in the middle of my back. I have zero clues as to how this happened, then or now. I showed it to my mom, and she didn't then or now believe me that I didn't know how it happened. She took me to the doctor, who confirmed it was a burn, like duh. So we joked ever since then that I was abducted by aliens, and that was where they did their experiments. Fast forward to when I was 20. I was working for an electronic manufacturing company and going to college at the same time. My mom also worked there. I worked around my school schedule for the first year I worked there. So at that point, I was working there every other day. That being said, a guy I worked with went to talk to my mom on a day I was at school about a dream he had. He dreamed that I was abducted by aliens, and they went in through a spot on my back to do their experiments, and pointed to a spot on his back where they had left a mark. Now bear in mind, he had no idea of the aforementioned incident from when I was a kid. It's not something I tell people about, mainly because I just don't think about it. My mom told me about it later that night, and I burst out laughing in confusion mostly. So I went to talk to him the following day about the dream he had. He recounted the dream to me, so I told him the story above, and told him that I still have a scar right where he pointed on his back, and I showed him the scar. He totally freaked out. Again, I bursted out laughing, like literal tears, because I couldn't cope. My mom and I joked with him that he finally solved the mystery. So, for the next 10 years we worked together. It became a running joke between us. I'm a klutz, and I have had more injuries in my life that I have no idea how I got them. But the truth is, alien or not, he knew I had an injury that I never told him about, exactly where it was. Case file number 2179, written by Solifuga. The Tale of the Mercedes Miracle. My then boyfriend slammed the car door shut when we got out. My hand had been resting on it, and my little finger got trapped in the channel, between the door and the car body. It was literally stuck into the door, and I could not pull my hand out until he unlocked the car and reopened the door. My little finger was entirely in the recess and channel somehow, despite the rest of my hand and the part connecting my little finger to the rest of my hand obviously somehow not being, and yet my finger was completely unharmed. A mild feeling of pressure at the base, where I guess the pinch point was, where that part of my finger and hand were not in the channel my finger was lying in, but that's it. Neither of us could believe it. So fluky, as by rights, this should have completely snapped and crushed my finger, and I cannot imagine what the odds are that I beat for this to not happen. It was a newish modern Mercedes too, so a car where everything seals properly and closes flush. Not like an old car where there may be perished seals or gaps. I wish I'd have taken a pic of me showing how completely I was stuck and unable to get my hand free, but we were both so shocked and panicked we didn't think to do so. So this story is interesting because, let me see if I can show it. See my middle finger here is bent because I got it stuck in a car when I was young, and the bone grew out sideways, curved from it. I don't remember the injury itself, but I can definitely attest that if you get your finger stuck in a car door when it's slammed shut, there is damage. There should be. Case file number 2180, written by Friendly Lizard 345. The Kiss That Bridged Both Dream and Day. I had a dream that came true. In my dream, I was in a cafeteria with a round table and tall glass windows lining one wall. a blonde woman came and stood in front of everyone at the tables and gave some sort of instructions. Everyone stood up and started forming a crowd, and I started to weave through it. As I went through, I stopped in front of a non-white guy. Didn't know his race, just that he wasn't white, who took my hand and kissed it while looking up at me. Now, I told people about this dream, but all the things in my dream were fuzzy. I was 13 and thought the boy was a boy from class who I had a crush on, and who happened to be one of the 2 non-white guys in my class. I lived in a very white city at the time. I figured it was my school cafeteria since it had round tables and big glass windows. I figured the blonde woman was one of the office workers at my school. But I was 13 with a crush, and so I told my friends about this dream. Well, that summer, I went to a music camp I'd never been to before and decided to take musical theater as an elective. Our class was in the camp's cafeteria, which had round tables and tall glass windows lining one wall. Our teacher was blonde, and on the first day gave us a prompt for practice. Told us to stand up and form a crowd and greet each other in a different way as we walk around. Eventually, I come to this Asian boy who takes my hand and greets me by taking my hand and kissing it. Right as he does that, the teacher told everyone to freeze in their positions. So this guy is stuck there, kissing my hand and looking up at me and smiling because of the humorous and awkward situation. I've had various déjà vu moments where I've been convinced I dreamt that what was going on I had dreamt of, and in the moment I would tell myself what was going to happen next, and it would. I've had one dream since that I'm convinced will come true, because it had the exact same kind of vagueness and fuzziness as the first one. Case file number 2181, written by Queen of the Bedhead. Dogs, Darkness, and the Unlatched Gate. At the beginning of this year, I had let my dogs out to play in my backyard. A few minutes later, one of my neighbors came to tell me that my dogs were running loose around the neighborhood. After wrangling them back in, I walked around the side of my house to find the gate to my privacy fence was wide open. The kicker is that the latch is on the inside of the fence and is far enough down that you can't just reach over and unlatch it. Convincing myself that someone must have just not shut it all the way, I closed it and went about my day. Fast forward to that night, and I'm awoken by my dog's low growling, followed by what sounds like banging and scuffling under my house. I wake up my husband, convinced someone is trying to break in. We've had an issue with possums getting under the house in the past, but to ease my mind, he got up, clicked on a flashlight, and went to inspect. About 5 minutes had passed, and I heard the front door open back up, and saw the light from the flashlight go back down the hall towards the back door. A few minutes later, my husband reappeared in the bedroom looking like he'd seen a ghost. I asked him what was wrong, and he simply said, the back gate was wide open. Needless to say, I bought the world's biggest padlock the next day. We never found out what or who was out there. Case file number 2182, written by Ray Loca. The Bump of the Blank-Eyed Woman. Went for a bike ride with a friend in the middle of nowhere in a very rural area. No houses for kilometers. We were about 12 years old. We were riding when we approached this small wooden bridge and something compelled us to stop. We stopped and started looking down at the small creek when I noticed some movement in the corner of my eye. I looked to the side and saw a really old lady dressed in really strange clothes, slowly walking towards us. She didn't show any emotion and was just staring blankly at us. I waved and she didn't react and just kept walking in a creepy way. I kept asking her if she was alright, but something bothered me, and I got this gut feeling of dread that something bad was going to happen. I quickly got on my bicycle, and my friend was just hypnotized, staring at her while she approached. I had to shake him, and that was when we got on his bicycle, and we just rode away as quickly as possible. No idea what she wanted or who she was, but she gave us a really creepy feeling. Always trust your gut. Case file number 2183, written by Eddie's Couch. The Unseen Cuddler of Room 404. when I was 13, I went to a sleepaway camp that was on a college campus. They had us in dorms, which were built in the 1890s. The room I was in was on the 4th floor, top floor. There was a window above my bed with no screen. There was only a small ledge under the window, but it was surrounded by sheer walls about 8 feet on either side. It was hot and there was no AC, so I left the window open at night. One night, I was awoken by the feeling of movement. It was well past midnight, and I was very slowly coming online. There was a weight on my stomach. It was warm. The movement I had felt was a rise and fall of breathing. For a moment, I thought my dog from back home was curled up on me, but what I felt was too small. I tried to be as still as possible because, frankly, how are you supposed to react to that? It was too dark to see anything, so I couldn't tell what was on me. Eventually, I slowly reached for the lamp on my nightstand, but it shifted the thing on me. I could feel it take a second to wake up. Then it bolted off me, and I could hear it run towards the corner of the room. There was nothing there when I turned on the light. It woke up my roommate, and we turned the room over, but we didn't find a trace of anything. There was nowhere in the room it could have escaped from, except the window behind me. The noise of our searching woke up the counselor in the next room. Next thing I know, the whole house is awake, searching for the rat. If it was a rat, it would have been the biggest I've ever encountered, but someone got it in their head that it was a rat. It only takes one person screaming "rat" at 3 a.m. before you have chaos on your hands. But we didn't find anything. No holes to move through, no shed fur, no excrement, no nothing. I still have no clue what it was. The only way it could have gotten in was through the window, and there was literally nothing to grab onto surrounding the window. In those moments, I was still waking up. It was actually very nice and comfy. I don't know if I cuddled with a raccoon or a ghost, but 1010 would cuddle again. Nice. Case file number 2184, written by Doc BSQ. The Skinny Santa I Couldn't Explain. As a child, I believed in Santa until an unusually old age, 9 or 10. This story is the main reason why. When I was maybe 4 or 5, I saw Santa outside of my bedroom window on the night of Christmas Eve. But what I saw didn't entirely make sense. Santa was only a silhouette, moving past the pulled shade, backlit by the streetlights. He had the correct pointy cap and a beard, but he was notably skinny. I remember thinking that was kind of weird, but then figured that maybe the adults were wrong about his weight or something. In any case, I went to sleep quite happy that night, knowing my presents had arrived. The thing is, I still don't have any explanation other than Santa for what I saw. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor of an old house with high ceilings. That bedroom was at least 20 feet up, with no trees or ledges outside for someone to walk on. I wasn't the kind of kid to imagine something and believe it was real, so if I saw a shadow, there was a shadow. There wasn't anything between my room and the streetlights where a figure, a person or otherwise, could legitimately pass by. But someone or something 100% walked past my bedroom windows that night. Santa's always an interesting idea, but for him to be real, he'd need to be able to travel at beyond the speed of light or pause time. And think of it from his perspective, he'd have to live like thousands of years on Christmas Eve to get to every home. That's an intense job. Hope he's well paid. Case file number 2185, written by Melancholic Shark. The Mean Girls Magic Effect. So back when the Mean Girls movie came out, I went to go see it in one of the towns next to where I live with my friend, who lives even further away than I do. At no point that day did we go anywhere remotely near his house. We were miles away. Over 40 minutes by train. During the movie, I noticed my favorite one-of-a-kind ring is missing and I panic. This ring is irreplaceable. It came from a completely different country and there's nothing like it online. Once the movie is over, we search the area around us and come up with nothing. So we start to retrace our steps. I reported the missing ring to the cinema, and gave them my number. This was after their cleaners had been searching and they also came up empty-handed. We head back to every location we visited that day. I leave my number with all of them, and we never find my ring. 3 months go by, and out of the blue, I get several urgent messages from that friend. He had my ring. He found it at his house. We never went to his house that day, and I know for a god-frickin' fact, I had it on my finger when I left my house that morning. Because I'd taken my rings off the previous night due to my carpal tunnel flaring up. He explained that he knocked his bag off his sofa, and when he went to pick it up, my ring was right there on his floor. Now, if that isn't weird enough for you, at no point during the day did he open his bag apart from once. It was when he sat down for coffee, and there was a table between us. We sat across from each other. The table was in the way of his bag. The only possible way my ring could have ended up in his bag was if it somehow slipped off my finger, rolled across a table, dropped off the side right in front of my friend, and into his bag in the brief moment it was open on the floor. Or my ring slipped off my finger and somehow managed to fling itself up into the air and land in his bag underneath the table. All without either of us noticing. I got my ring back, by the way, and it's back on my finger. I don't know how it managed to make its way back to me, but I'm incredibly thankful to whatever forces had a hand in returning it. Oh, and when I was a kid, I threw a spoon into the sink. It slipped between the sink and the plastic tub that was in there. When I went to get it to wash it, it was gone. There's no chance of it going down the drain because there was a grate in the way. It just seemingly slipped out of existence. Never did find that one again. Case file number 2186, written by Afro-san Goku, the Bald Mirage. At uni, myself and a group of friends were waiting to get into a nightclub. We were just chatting and laughing, and then I saw one of the guys from the group, who was distinctly dressed and balding, cross the road to go to the building directly opposite, presumably to urinate. As he was halfway across the road, and obviously being very mature, I motioned to a girl in the group, who also saw him leave the queue, so we could follow him. We started to cross and then realized how stupid that was. Who wants to see their friend going to the toilet, or worse still, be sprayed with bodily fluids? So we turned around to go back to the queue, only our friend was already there, and deep in conversation. Genuinely confused, we asked him if he ran around the building as he definitely didn't cross our path. He said he didn't, and was equally confused by our questions. We hadn't been drinking, and I think if I had seen it on my own, I would maybe think I made a mistake, but we both saw it and confirmed it was him. Still don't know what would have happened if we went behind the building. Case file number 2187, written by Robert 67562, Mojitos, Monsters, and Wild Things. One night, back in college, I was making some mojitos, my favorite cocktail, and chilling with some of my housemates in our living room. We all lived in a house just off campus. I chose to take the basement bedroom that didn't have a window, but was the biggest bedroom in the house. After downing 3 mojitos that I loaded way too much, I got a hood buzz and thought that I should hit it and go to sleep. I left the space heater on in my room because it was the winter, and that basement room got pretty chilly at times. Whenever I drank, I would always wake up to go to the restroom at night, several times, and go back to sleep between each time. In between these times I've woken up, I'd be having a continuous dream, where I'm on the island where The Wild Things Are takes place, and I'm searching for the main monster character in the bushes. The whole dream was basically me just tracking the beast from its trail. At one point in the middle of the night, I had enough of the space heater, turned it off on my way back from the bathroom. In my dream, I was behind a bush knowing that, on the other side of said bush, the monster was foraging somewhere. I moved the leaves into the shape of a little window to peer at the disturbing beast, and suddenly, this carbon monoxide alarm just sitting on a shelf in my room went off, for the first time in the 2 years I've lived in that room. I jumped up, ran upstairs, and called the fire department. They couldn't figure out what set it off and were adamant that the space heater wasn't the issue. But that made me get a new alarm right away regardless. The fact that my dream coincided with the event so closely always haunted me. I never saw the Wild Things movie, but I heard good things. Probably should. Case file number 2188, written by Dark Wolf 1994. Construction zone, 1 road, 2 realities. I was a delivery driver on my way to a town with 1 road that goes in and out. There is no other way but this road to get there. They were having to replace a buried line for about a mile under the road. There was a flagger set up, a pilot car. Worth pointing out, the flagger was over a hill and you could not see the work from where they were stopping people. I had to wait in a long line and follow the pilot car through. They had entire sections of the road dug several feet deep, equipment everywhere. My point is that most of the road was gone. Even with the pilot car, we had to stop repeatedly while equipment crossed what was left of the road. I got through, made my deliveries, and came back out maybe half an hour later, tops. I kept wondering when I was going to encounter the work zone, when suddenly I topped the hill and passed the first flagger, waiting with a line of cars to come my direction. I stood on the brakes thinking I was insane. The work zone was gone. I rolled the window down and asked what the hell happened. All the holes in equipment were gone. The flagger said I needed to pay more attention because I must have just run past it all without stopping. There's no way. Case file number 2189, written by Popular Drive 2763. A loud mystery in a very quiet house. When I was 23, I lived with 2 other roommates in a 2-story house. One night, I found myself alone at home, which was a welcoming contrast to the high-traffic lifestyle we lived. It was fall, so night fell fast and the cool temperatures called for all doors and windows to be shut. The house was not old, so drafts or leaks were not a concern. I was coming downstairs from my bedroom and passing through a hallway. I stopped in the hallway to take a look at my new haircut in the large circular mirror on the wall. I could hear a baseball game faintly playing in the background from the TV in the back of the house. She really nailed this cut, I whispered to myself, not 6 inches from the mirror. Just then I heard the loudest singular bang noise I had ever heard. I froze, staring at my reflection that had now gone sheet white. I dissected the sound from my military training. Wasn't a gunshot, there was no secondary crash like glass breaking, just one loud bang. I listened for footsteps, nothing. I decided to run in and meet whatever happened head on. The back room with the TV was untouched, door still locked, windows unscathed. The game was no longer making sound though. I turned up the volume, which had suddenly gone mute. I still to this day have no idea what made that noise. It creeped me the hell out though. So when I was maybe 14, I was home alone one night and I heard a very loud banging noise. It sounded like it hit the door. But then when I checked, there was nothing at all there. There's a lot of oddities when it comes to sound, that's for sure. Case file number 2190, written by Miss Mary Mint 007. The Oracle of Ordinary Life. I, 37 female, often have gut feelings and dreams that turn out to be right, and have been having them since childhood. Some examples of the past few years. Losing a box of my work tools during a move and dreaming of where it was. Though I'd already moved and sorted everything in that room, I got up after my dream at 4 a.m. and walked right over to it. About a week before I first heard of people getting sick from the virus, I was taking out the trash for my folks and I turned to my dad and told him that we should stock up on toilet paper. My dad still remembers that as the creepiest thing, but went to Costco and bought it within a few days. In 2019, while at a regular camping event in May, I saw a mutual acquaintance and turned to my husband and a good friend of ours and said, "This will be Rob's last time here." He died just a year later, but never made it to another camping event. At a different camping event, we were drinking at the end of the night. 2 friends left to go to bed. I turned to my girlfriends and told them that those 2 were about to get pregnant. Couple months later, they learned they were pregnant, and confirmed that the camping trip was when they got pregnant. When I got pregnant for the first time, I told my husband not to get excited. I didn't want to say why, but eventually I confessed I was certain it would end in a miscarriage. We miscarried at 3 months, but got pregnant a month later, and everything was fine then. Case file number 2191, written by Sunday's Snacks, Cows, Campers, and Conundrums. During a road trip, my partner and I decided to stop to take a break before we continued the 35-mile straight drive back home. We saw signs for a rest area and decided to go there. It was located in a pretty remote area where the next town was maybe still an hour away. Anyways, the rest area was up on a hill from the road. As we turned to drive up, we both, clear as day, see a big white RV camper parked up there. I told him, hey, let's be careful up there. The road bends a bit before you get to the top where the rest area is, kind of creating a blind spot. As we get closer, we both realized there wasn't anyone or anything up there. There was only one way in and out, and there was just a pasture of cows. I turned to him and said, didn't we just see an RV out here, clear as day? And he said, yes, I saw it too. We both kind of looked to see if maybe there was a ranch road into the pasture, but there was only a fence. No signs of visible dust from a car, nothing or no one. Just the freaking cows mooing very loudly. We both said let's just use the restroom and leave. As we are getting ourselves situated again, this random dude in a big truck just appeared on the road turning up towards us. We didn't hear it or see it either. It freaked us out just enough to jump into our truck and leave just as quickly as we could before that truck could get up here. We did see who was in the driver's seat, and it was just one guy. We both were very tripped out on the experience, and I said I swore I saw that RV up there, and he did too. The area was in a beautiful remote spot overlooking the entrance to the forest. It definitely had a vibe to it. So weird. Case file number 2192, written by Starting Over 1008. The Enigma of the Stars. My 4-year-old has a green jacket with navy stars in it. He came home from school wearing that jacket one day, and as we walked into the house through the garage, I noticed that another green jacket with navy stars was hanging over the stroller. It was the same jacket, same brand, same size, same design. Neither jacket had a name label. I messaged his teacher to see if he accidentally wore another kid's jacket home, and both of his teachers were adamant that no other kid has that jacket. No other parent has reported a lost or missing jacket. We haven't had playdates with another kid with the same jacket, or gone to a party or park where we picked up a jacket. No one else has bought him a green jacket as a present. I went through my emails of all my online orders to see if I accidentally bought 2, and there is only a record of one of those jackets being bought. The brand is an online-only one, and I don't delete my online shopping order confirmation emails, so it just appeared out of nowhere. Case file number 2193, written by Unfair Koala 9325, Steps of the Departed. I have specific flip-flops I immediately use when I get out of the shower. Unfortunately, this quirk is associated with my OCD diagnosis. One day, I was getting ready to take a shower, turned on the water, got a towel, and then went to get my flip-flops. They weren't in their typical spot in the bathroom. So I'm thinking I must have walked into the bedroom with them the last time I showered, and took them off in my bedroom. I am searching my bedroom, and around this pile of clothes I have near a chair. Nothing. I got into other rooms of the house thinking, well, maybe I left them in those rooms. Still nothing. Returned to my bedroom, and the flip-flops are sitting perfectly aligned next to this pile of clothes, out in the open. They weren't under anything. I didn't dig them up and happened to push them to the side without noticing. They appeared out of thin air. I really believe it was my late cousin helping me. And this is also because the flip-flops appeared in the same spot I had a dream she was standing in. I cannot explain this flip-flop thing to this day. Case file number 2194, written by Hopeful Dreamer. The Mysterious Light That Lingered. One night, I had a dream of a radiating white light shining in my eyes. It was the brightest white light, just beaming in my direction. I woke up and it was in the middle of the night, pitch black, extremely calm and quiet. I was afraid to move from my bed. It felt so real. I looked around my room with only my eyes, afraid to move even an inch. I closed my eyes and saw another bright, shining ray of light, radiating in my direction and taking up every inch of what I could see. It felt like it was drawing me in. It was so captivating and so calm. It was an extremely bright light. I didn't want that feeling and light to go away. When I opened my eyes again, I got worried and wondered if someone I had known passed away. I started praying. Someone I knew was having surgery that morning, so I thought it was about her. I felt scared for her and prayed really hard for her. Went back to bed, and in the morning I read that her surgery went well, so I felt some relief. Later that day, I found out my sister had lost her pregnancy, and I was heartbroken for her. I'm not sure why I had that dream. I don't know if it was purely coincidental. I don't know the meaning of it. It was weird yet very mysterious. I tried telling my mom and sister about the dream several weeks later, but they didn't have any interest and I just changed the topic. But it was very surreal, like nothing I've dreamt before. It was like a flashlight shining in my eyes. Yet when I opened my eyes, everything was dark and no lights were on. Case file number 2195, written by Frigoff Ricky 121. The Hovering Horror. I was an MP, military police in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Hood for 5 years, and in 2016, I was coming onto my shift. My shift started at 5 a.m., but you had to be at the PMO 2 hours prior for weapons draw, rank inspections, and guard mount. So needless to say, waking up at 2 a.m. 5 days a week makes a motherfricker tired. Well, this particular morning, I was very tired, and my sector for that day was what's known as West Fort Hood. It's an area with super old WW2 bunkers and underground systems and areas closed off even to military police and other responders. At the top of the big hill there, right before the warning barbed wire gates leading to who knows what, there's a turn you can make to go into the woods and park. I'd taken a nap or two there before, and there's no lights, no foot traffic, no car traffic, just you and your vehicle in the woods alone. This particular morning, it was around 5:15 a.m. on a Sunday. I turned my radio up to hear if any calls for service came out, turned my vehicle lights completely off, and closed my eyes. What felt like immediately upon closing my eyes, I was hovering over my patrol vehicle, looking straight down, so coherent and aware of the absurdity of what was happening. My first thought was that I'd died. I looked left and I looked right. All was pitch black except for the patrol vehicle beneath me. At that moment, I looked forward and a face that I will never forget was staring at me, and immediately opened its mouth and screamed the loudest scream I'd ever heard, and sucked my body into its mouth, and I felt like I was flying forward with the force of 1,000 787s. I jolted up in the biggest panic of my entire life, and it was broad daylight, noon. No missed phone calls, no calls for service, nothing. I drove out of there wondering what the hell had happened to me, because it did not feel like some kooky dream. I have yet to ever experience anything of the sort since or before that. Came to find out 2 months after that event, some group of essentially occultists do their strange gatherings in that area. They had gotten busted because they were starting a fire. They weren't burning or sacrificing anything, just essentially a bonfire. But they were told they couldn't do that on government property, and that was the end of it. That entire section of West Fort Hood has so much lore and soldier chatter. Strange things always seem to happen there. That is a disturbing experience, like your soul being sucked into something. But given you're back in your body, I guess you escaped. Good. Now time for the jokes of the day. Joke 1. Why did Kamala Harris lose the election? She lacked conviction. Joke number 2. While I was making dinner, I was using a couple of bags of frozen veggies, a bag of peas and a bag of sliced carrots, and being that they're small, I only cut little triangles on the corners of the bags and poured them into the pot. Upon seeing me do this, my kid says, "Oh, so you're cheating tonight?" Trying to defend myself, I quickly responded, Well, I use frozen veggies from time to time because they're still good for you. They actually really are. She looked at me with her chin down and eyes up and coldly said, yeah, but you're cutting corners tonight. Never been so proud. Joke number 3. I accidentally handed my girlfriend the glue stick instead of the chapstick. She still isn't speaking with me. Accidentally? Doubt. Joke number 4. My wife said that she's divorcing me, saying that I was too un-American. Saw it coming from a kilometer away. Joke number 5. I'm so tired of trying to figure out what equals 86,400 seconds. Let's just call it a day. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony, signing off.